Warm up, because it's cold.
You think you're clever? You think you're clever by saying that? Okay, we'll share links. 1 moment.
I don't see the stream yet. There. YouTube stream is up. Facebook stream is up. Hey, you're Hey, Andre. So while we're warming up on today,
You're gonna share.
On today's amusing day,
Are you gonna share it?
so I can't spun this ad. I won't say na lang from who, but they were basically selling deconstructed pulveron. I don't know.
And I like that it's sold in just like a bag. It's just a bag. Oh, hey Sophie. Meron bang Christmas party? At the moment, no. But I guess we will have our Christmas dinners.
Yeah, but you can order deconstructed pulveron.
Seriously, it looked like my little packs of almond flour.
I mean, what's next? You could like sell malagkit and say it's deconstructed suman.
But you have to cook it. Well, I mean, sige, let's assume that the deconstructed pulveron,
so pulveron
at least contributed the pan roast.
Yeah, kasi pulveron is milk and
powder,
sugar.
Yes.
And then you mix both, and then you fry. I guess fry it.
Pan
cook
roast,
it.
yes.
Yeah. And then once it's done, that's when you mold it.
Yes.
And all that. So the molding is what makes it the distinct thing we all know as pulveron.
Yes.
But of course, if you choose not to mold it, I guess it's deconstructed.
Fairness, it's $175 for 200 grams.
Ay nako. It's amusing what people come up with to market.
Right?
I mean, what's next? They can call it a deconstructed cake, and you have sponge, and you have whatever toppings. Bahala ka na. I know.
So that's our big discovery today. Deconstructed pulveron. Amazing. Well, hope you're all having a great weekend. Yeah, we didn't have an episode yesterday because we did a one shot for Legends of the Elements. So that was interesting, trying another player.
It was originally scheduled as a game for the 12 new games a year I normally run. But then it became the 13th game because we did have that group chat with the viewers, which ended up playing a session of Parsley.
Parsley, yes. Ang tanong, masarap ba? That is the question.
Siguro lasang pulveron. I don't know.
Well, I think that's the bare minimum expectation, that your deconstructed pulveron actually tastes like pulveron. Anyway, yeah. And then and then today our game didn't happen for various reasons. But then we played Terraforming Mars, the digital version of Terraforming Mars with Urim. So that was interesting. So yeah, I think that's the next chapter of our online gaming adventures, is we're going to further explore the official apps, especially if they have online multiplayer functions, so that we can feel like we're having decent game nights. It's just a challenge of making sure everybody has the same game. So that has been my Steam gifting strategy among board game friends. Checking their libraries and then depending on the group, aligning which ones they have.
These guys have this game. Siya wala pa. Let's give that game.
Yes, so that at least medyo mas madaming games in common. And then, I mean, it's not it's not cheap to get them all because it's
Mhm.
still like close to $500 a game per board game, and
Mhm.
we've already invested thousands in the actual physical copies. But we'll roll with it. At least we get to play. There are just quirks to the game. I mean, like a Terraforming Mars, it has this making sure you saw everything that the other player did
Mhm.
turn. It's like, review his
Yeah,
actions.
which is nice. Although I feel they didn't have to do it one by one by one by one. It could have been
A summary. Plus,
which exists in the log. If you check the log tab,
it'll show everything.
it shows there the which cards were played by that player or which moves were
And
done.
the fact that you have to say okay at the beginning. Like,
Mhm.
I don't have a choice. So if I don't have a choice, then just show me the darn
Mhm.
summary of his actions, right?
Mhm.
But yeah.
And then it's I guess in hopes of keeping it moving faster. It has a touch move system.
Mm-mm.
So the moment you click a card and try playing it,
Yeah,
even
that's
if you
it.
haven't ended your turn, that's your move. So like there was one scene earlier I was thinking, maybe I should do a greenery. So I converted trees to a greenery. But then I realized I didn't like the spots where I could play it, but I couldn't take it back anymore. So
Yeah, anything that involves tile placement on Mars, once you
Mhm.
click a tile, that's it. It's like you're committed.
but it's odd because you don't really get the updates until you're done.
Yeah,
So it's a
no.
local process, which in theory should be rewindable
Mm-mm.
because there's no new information yet revealed. It's not like you drew a card. So hey,
Hi,
Noel,
Noel.
Kenny,
Mitch is here.
Mitch, Sophie, Andre, Urem, deconstructed Pulver.
We're never gonna get over deconstruction, and it's because Toby saw it like right before the show, and then we shared it already with one group of friends, and it has resulted in violent reaction.
And when I saw it, of course, my first instance was, huh. Because I was like thinking, I know it's just those two ingredients. So, and then the picture was two bags. So
There's a different sizes.
so at first I thought it was the sugar and milk being sold separately. So I'm like, huh.
Deconstructed.
And then we
pulver.
thought, okay, maybe they do roast it and then they sell it in bags. So like, oh, ito, pulveron, have a spoonful. I don't know. Or do they plan to sprinkle it on food? I don't know. But I guess it's something interesting.
Yeah, sorry about that, Noel. Yes, so we'll keep saying it. Deconstructed pulveron.
Mm-mm.
All right, let's start.
So yeah, let us officially start. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us. We talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. So this is our 112th episode. 112.
Say that again. 100.
Yeah, I kind of
12.
And masingaw pa ako eh. And
Wow, let's blame the singer.
and our topic today is all about adulting independently.
Yeah, this was a requested topic from Kenny, specifically about tips and tricks like on living on your own. So, yeah, we'll try. As usual, Toby and I didn't exactly map out an outline before this. We were playing our respective games after dinner. Hey, RJ, nice to see you again. Well, nice to see you again. But yeah, so we'll talk about it when you finally decide to move out or when you have an opportunity to live on your own. A lot of things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can touch very briefly on finding a place,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Yeah, what insights do you have, Toby, on finding? Kenny's like, because he will be living alone very soon.
So choosing a place where you plan to live is quite important because the first thing you have to realize is once you're there, the investment is there.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Even if
places,
you're just renting.
yeah, most places you'll go to will have a minimum of a few months.
To a year,
even
yeah.
a rented place, there's like 2 or 3 months paid, and you can't pull that out. And
Oh yeah, when you have to pay a lot upfront. Normally,
Yeah.
at least 1 month deposit, and then probably at least a month
1 month advance.
Sometimes it's two,
Yeah.
depending on the unit.
And with that already basically tells you that the moment you choose to move out, you must look at staying there for a longer period of time. It's not like you can live there for a weekend and then nope, not for me, move on. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah. So think about the area carefully.
So that then breaks down to note the routes in and out of the area, whether
Mm-hmm.
you'll be commuting, whether you'll be driving, and even if you're driving, still look at how it will be accessible commuting,
Parking.
because you don't know if there will be days you can't bring your car. You
Mm.
don't know if there will be days the car is busted and you'll have to commute. Worse, maybe there'll be days you can't even get a grab or a cab.
Mm-hmm.
So consider those factors. Um, Note the general area, how well lit, how safe.
Safety. How safe it feels.
Mhm.
And then think about your, well, there's like always two things: distance to work, and then typically you assume that when you move out,
Hey,
you're kind of
Karen.
moving to be closer to where you're going to be working,
Or away from where you used to live.
or which is a whole different world.
Mhm.
And then there's also the consideration of um, like, where do you expect the grocery? Where do you expect to get supplies in the area?
Mhm.
And then that sort of lay of the land.
It's always tricky to what's the word?
Canvas.
Yeah, it's
Scout.
always tricky to canvas and scout because things or places can be very different sometimes in the day and at night.
Mm.
There are places that look nice and look safe, but then at night, suddenly, next thing you know, that corner becomes a beer house at night and stuff like that.
There's video in
Yeah.
the evening.
The neighbors might be the type that yell at each other and scream and all that. And these are things you really won't be able to learn on
Until
your
you're
own.
like really, really living there.
So
Yeah.
it does help to always consider that any place you might move to for the first time, it might be best if it was a place either someone you know does live there or someone you know is familiar with that area.
Mm-hmm.
So they could at least give you insight as to what that place is like. Now, more so is knowing if that place is a flood zone,
Oh yeah.
if that place tends to have power outages or water issues.
Yeah, Mitch is sharing. She looks at proximity and accessibility to public transport,
Yes.
safety, nearby grocery, laundry
Yes.
shop, water delivery, and internet is good, including mobile internet, which is good. Testing your signal.
And Mitch has finished the episode. No.
Good job, Mitch. We're done. All right. So
No, but it's true. Grocery is so important.
yeah, how are you going to resupply? And then
you-
especially if you're just going to walk
Yes.
or commute on your own, then
Yes.
are you gonna haul stuff? Then do you want a wet market nearby? Do you want an actual like SM supermarket nearby?
In as much as you might say, no, I don't think I'll be walking. I'll usually take a cab. Then that means you're with everyone else who's struggling to get a taxi after
Yeah.
grocery. So you might want to consider something you can walk.
And then and then there used to be an old tip that was always given, like it's good to canvas especially if you're looking for, well, in general, they always say that it's good to canvas for a place during the rainy season,
Mm,
because then you see if it floods or if there are leaks.
yes.
And things like that. It's a weird piece of advice, but yeah, it's good to check in the rainy season. And then I second also what Mitch is saying, that you may want to check drive by or pass by during the evening to
Mhm.
get a sense of how well lit it is, and like what is the walking path like from the unit to where you're gonna expect to get a ride,
Mhm.
if it's safe or not. Because sometimes, especially if you go out at night, things to think about.
If this is like a condo or a place that
My nose is itchy.
you need someone to allow you in to check out the place, don't be afraid to ask for chances to visit the place.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if it's more than once.
And the brokers are totally gonna
Yeah.
do it because
They
it
want-
helps them.
They
Yeah.
want you to become the next person because they have a huge cut that they'll get from that.
Mhm.
So don't
Shoot, we haven't done the checks.
yeah. So don't be shy about can I see it again? But can I try visiting around this time instead? And
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Noel says about thinking about if there are friends in the area, it's good to know some people nearby.
Mhm.
I would normally do this, but I had never done this.
Mhm.
It's also because I'm a very antisocial person by nature,
Mhm.
and I'm just gonna rough it. So, but yeah, if it at least have a backup, or at least have people that you know that you can like reach out to, and like things for that. The other thing in the pre-planning phase is do you have a checking account? It's a
Yes.
weird thing, because more often than not, long-term leases require post-dated checks,
Mhm.
and getting a checking account is not automatic. Which always surprises me, that depending on the bank, sometimes if you don't have an existing relationship with them, they may make it harder for you to get a checking account.
And the checking account is separate from the savings account. They are two totally different accounts.
Yeah.
Just having one doesn't mean you have the other.
Yeah, and then it's the quick reminder that with this checking accounts are what we call current accounts. So supposedly that means that their balances are updated more real time, but at the same time they typically do not earn interest. There are some combined savings and checking products, but the interest rates are laughable. So there's no, and then there's probably higher account minimums. But so if you're lucky, just go for a straight up, usual consumer checking account, if you can get it. If not, then you may need to figure out what arrangements you can do with the landowners you're talking to in terms of like how to secure payment for the unit. Wow, this is a long post by the Vendenko, which is a serious problem I see if I live independently are the handy stuff, especially electrical stuff. I feel easy with sockets and light bulbs. I don't want to look stupid asking simple domesticated things.
So first, questions will always feel stupid because it's an innate embarrassment to feel like you don't know things you should know. But the people, let's say in a condo, maintenance crew and the like, they're used to it. They're used to those questions. Don't be shy about asking if the plug can be fixed or what to buy to fix the faucet. They would be more than happy to tell you the information because if you're gonna be the one to buy it, then good.
Yeah, we like in our condo now. It's like the maintenance will do house
Small
calls.
repairs,
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll check, but then they will also charge us because that's the arrangement we have with the admin, which is not bad. It's just like you're just paying for labor rather than making a mistake on your own.
In the past, it was the scary need to look for those numbers posted on posts and walls nearby of people offering services.
Tubero.
But thankfully, now in the day and age of online services, there are actually people who do offer services online whom some friends will vouch for.
Oh yeah, they're like all these weird handyman type
Yeah.
services. So I mean, like
And not just handyman, even cleaning people who will do handle cleaning, general cleaning, and the like, laundry.
Yeah, Mitch just keeps sharing. Also look for where the barangay hall is in the police station. Good thing to think about. I still don't know where we transact all of our barangay hall stuff in Fort Bonifacio.
Well, that's the painful
It's
one.
SM Aura, no?
Well, SM Aura allows us to do a lot of it, but the official buildings is like
In
Lower
Taguig.
Bikutan.
Okay, and then but yeah, Andre is saying that condos are nice, but downside is mahal. I mean, like it really depends on what your budget is. What you're paying for is convenience. When it comes to condos.
Because you might think, condo is mahal and then you just get a small room and a little bit of living space. But then you realize you're overlooking their security. There's staff and people who will handle some of the minor problems for you.
Garbage disposal.
There's garbage collection that happens, as long as you bring it out of your unit. There's some collated help that happens inadvertently. For example, like for us, we were able to get water supply because there is a service that does pass by the building and many order from them, so they kinda are here often.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. And if let's say you were living on your own in a rented space in a house or a apartment unit, you might not have those opportunities.
And don't get me wrong, I would still love to have a townhome type place with Toby. But then it does mean a lot of the things we have now is going to be a problem, like the assurance of security.
Yes.
Garbage drives me nuts. As someone who grew up in a townhome with my family, it's always the running out early in the morning to bring it, because the village we grew up in like required that you only bring out the garbage when the truck is there. You couldn't leave your garbage out for long.
Because you're leaving garbage outside.
Yeah, and then they, of course, as segregation things have happened more and more, then it's like, oh my god, today's a Tuesday, what am I bringing out? What colored bag and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it was a pain. It was a pain. So I mean, like one is not inherently better than the other in terms of condo versus like townhome or small apartment living. It's really comfort zone and what works for you. So you're gonna, but it's factors to weigh. It's factors to weigh. Yeah. Kenny says best to live in a condo with people to share. Well, as long as they are people you are willing to live with.
Admittedly, sharing for me was always a thing I wasn't comfortable with. Only because um, you don't know until when they'll stay. And then the next thing you know, you might be worrying about having now to cover for everything because the others have chosen to leave. And now you're not just worrying about your own bills, but worrying about how to cover for the bills you thought others would compensate for and all this and that. And
Mhm.
it just gets
It's
complicated.
tricky. And then there's a lot of like shared living drama that's never going to happen.
People
Competing for the
using your
bathroom,
stuff.
people using your stuff, people eating your food. I mean, like it's a pro and con. I have very limited experience with people living with people who I'm not in a relationship with. Every time I have had a living situation with someone else, it's complicated. So it's like, but that's me. I'm very finicky that way. So yeah, and then once that has established, then you need to think about, well, I guess get your ducks in a row in terms of your budget.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, you will need some sort of a budget to get through. My most basic, in terms of like, if you're not a budgety person, is that list all your regular expected monthly expenses.
Mhm.
So the non-negotiables are like rent, utility payments, so that's
Mhm.
power and water,
Internet, possibly.
internet, possibly if you're getting another internet solution, laundry services, but maybe not. But you try with those things. And then every time, so figure out that budget. Uh, and then in terms of your paycheck, pay that first. And that's always a challenge. That's always a challenge. But you get used to it over time. In the beginning, it's a little harsh because, again, you just shelled out 2 months deposit, 2 months advance. You're probably running a little lower on cash than you'd like.
And then you have your first bill coming up.
And then your first bills start coming in, and a lot of utilities like telephone service or internet service are what we call billed in advance. So you pay the coming month. You're not paying for the previous month. You're paying the previous month's usage, but the coming month's like recurring fee. So it's a lot of things to account for. So take all those expenses into a list, divide them into the number of paydays you have in a month, if it's 2 or 3, whatever, and then set that aside every month.
Yeah. Don't be surprised that you will hate association fees. They're like taxes.
It always feels like where is this going? It's just
Mm.
going nowhere.
Where?
Mitch shares best tip for moving: to ensure cash flow after 13th month pay release. That's something to factor in. Bonuses, mid-year leave conversions, things that you're flush with cash. Because beyond the rent and beyond the like non-negotiable expenses, there's just the cost of setting up, the cost of moving your stuff,
If you're lucky,
filling the gaps in what you need.
if you're lucky, the unit is
Semi-furnished or furnished.
which means most of the stuff that you might need are already there. It's now a question of taste and whether they are still functional. But there is a level of joy of moving in and already knowing there's a refrigerator you can use and the like.
Yes.
We thankfully had the joy of when we moved in, we brought some of our stuff. So we had a small.
We had to negotiate.
We had
to negotiate with the owner to like take out, because it was a furnished unit, so take out some of his stuff because we just wanted to bring our own stuff.
Yeah. And admittedly, I lean towards I'd rather have your own stuff in your place because you then don't have to worry about pag nasira, then you'll worry pa how you'll explain and this and that. Or if you want to replace it, magpapaalam ka pa and where it will be disposed and all that.
Hence, like the other time we broke a glass. Oof, not our glass.
No.
Then we'll have to remember it when we turn over the unit one day. Other things, RJ says whether you live alone or not, you should know how to cook. Everyone should know how to cook, in his opinion. And I think it's a valuable life lesson to learn. But I'll admit, it's not easy for everyone. And then there are some people, depending on your living situation, when you do live on your own, you may not even be allowed to cook.
Yes.
Depending on the unit.
Some places don't allow gas ranges. Other places don't allow cooking at all.
Yeah, especially if it's like a boarding situation. So I understand that you may not have an opportunity, but yeah, I mean, it's scary, but then start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, to the very least, if you might need to start learning, you can start with heating food. No.
Yeah, reheating food.
Buy food and then keep them in the ref, and then when it's time to eat, bring them out, learn to transfer them to the container, learn to heat them in the microwave or heat them on the stove. But then just get used to the motions of the item with fire, the item with heat.
Oh,
It's
and yeah, don't discount the power of a rice cooker. Despite the fact that I am on keto, but especially if you're first time out,
Mhm.
just get a rice cooker,
A
guys.
rice cooker can be used to fry things.
We,
It can be
we
used to bake stuff if you even choose to.
when we first started living together, neither of us were very good cooks. We were like we could maybe basically fry stuff, and
Mhm.
then we kept making rice cooker surprises. Like we'll prep the rice, I'll put in some butter and put tuna on top, and
Mhm.
then it will steam. Or we'll steam okra and other vegetables on top.
So it drips down into the rice and stuff like that.
It was fun. It was
And then
super
even
fun.
later on, we started, using the rice, the cooker to fry stuff because we had gas problems. So it's quite versatile. It's quite useful. Of course, we're talking about the cheap rice cookers and not those high tech Japan stuff wherein there's all
Yeah.
the LCD screens and whistles.
And then it transforms and then it you know recites the
Um,
Bible.
okay, so Mitch Ray says the ritual in moving in for day one. So a lot do this rice, salt. Um, you have sugar. Okay, I don't know what sugar.
I don't
I
know.
know it's rice, salt, and I think it was water or oil. Some are because of religious connotations. Others are just pamihiin. Um, it's up to you if you want to do that. It's up to you if you won't. I chose to still do it only because
Oh my god. And then Mitch
it's
also
how I would
shares
prefer.
a friend who washes the apartment with water of the first rain of the year. Whoa, that's some serious pagan stuff going on. We did not do anything like that.
Yeah.
Our goal was to move all of our stuff,
Mhm.
which was a lot. And we were like thieves in the night moving things in batches.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, well, this is like this was no, this was before Transportify.
But of course, moving tip.
Yeah.
Use
Um,
Transportify for your lipat bahay.
okay, people are talking about induction cookers. So depending on the unit, especially condos, most condos will not allow gas ranges for the
Mhm.
fire risk. So you're either stuck with electric or with induction.
Mhm.
We've mainly had to use electric here because there was a pre-existing oven, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Induction's not bad, but you just need to make sure you have the right cookware for it.
Mhm.
So please, please, please double check if the cookware you are considering to buy, if it is for an induction cooker, is induction friendly. It requires flat bottomed with a specific material
Yeah.
for it to work with
and,
induction.
and don't trust just because it looks like it's an induction thing. It's an induction thing. Ask,
Yes, ask.
because there are some that are not induction friendly but still have a nice design like element. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people talking about quirky appliances like air fryers and instant pots. I mean, these are fine. These are fine.
Use what's comfy.
Yeah, use what's comfy. But again, it's like, but if you're just learning, I guess I think
A stove is enough.
a stove is nice. But if you're scared of that, a rice cooker.
Yeah.
Start with a rice cooker.
If I were to suggest two things, stove is always a given. Rice cooker is your perfect backup. But if you don't have a rice cooker, the stove still is good enough to do. You can even cook rice on the stove.
It's just your learning
I
experience.
would recommend, other than a microwave, though, a oven toaster,
Mm,
because I prefer how oven toaster warms food.
that's true.
I mean, if you're gonna warm soup and stuff, I know the quick way is to nuke it in a microwave, but it's better to properly heat it in a stove. It just tastes better.
on the fun,
And then when you're talking about bread and other food, it might be better to heat it in an oven toaster than it is to just nuke it. Because then you get to have the sad chicken or the rubber bread. Yeah.
rubber bread.
Microwave is a must.
You can microwave bread, guys. You can. You have to cover it with a bowl. It'll be damp, but it won't be sad bread. It won't be the rubber bread. Okay. Second thing Mitch brought in were cleaning materials. Okay, and that's practical. Okay, we'll get to that, and then buy deconstructed pulveron to sprinkle at the borders of the unit, or I don't know. Do we make it like a barrier? Okay. But yeah, so I mean, depending on, I think the bigger challenge, especially when you're first moving out in terms of appliances, is counter space. You can want all the appliances in the world, but if you don't have a place to put it,
Mhm.
then that's the problem.
Mhm.
And then I think that becomes the long running problem of any unit is storage. It's storage, and that's why if you go to places like Blims and stuff, you'll see a lot of like these kitchen caddies, which are like standalone carts of that can be shelves, and you can put appliances on it. So that helps expand your options. All these things. So make sure you scout out the unit in terms of what space you have and where the sockets are
Mhm.
before you buy any
Yes.
appliances, no matter how convenient
And
you think
before
they
you
are.
move in the appliances, because you might realize, oh, I want the TV here, and then all the plugs are in the other side.
Yeah, yeah. So think about that arrangement first.
Oh, we have a lot of tips now. So Noel shares put a cup of water beside when microwaving bread or pizza.
I've heard that because you're thinking
RJ
that it'll
shares
take the bulk
wrap
of the heat.
bread in paper towels when heating it in the microwave.
Do you wet the paper towels first? I feel like you should dampen them. I don't know, so that it stays there, something like that.
Mhm.
I think I get the principle. I get the principle because you're trying to like
Trap.
maintain the moisture.
Yeah.
It's like when you microwave rice. You're supposed to sprinkle some water on it before you microwave so that you rehydrate a little, but not enough that there's a pool of water at the bottom. That's just weird. Um,
Unless it's deconstructed.
unless it's deconstructed. It's terrible. Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So just think about counter space and like um me personally, and I know we've heard this in like many shows, but if the appliance is not easily accessible and in plain view, you're not going to use it.
Yes.
You're not going to use
That's why
it.
my sandwich maker has not been used in the last 10 years.
It's not 10 years. Is it a 10-year-old sandwich maker?
I think so. I don't remember. That was when Ano moved away, when
Um,
they broke up.
oh.
Remember? And they were selling stuff, so I bought it to help.
Oh.
But we haven't used it that once. Yeah. It
Yeah.
really does happen. Because if it's out of sight, you feel it's just so tedious to bring out.
Because then you have to bring it out
then
and
you have to
set it
clean
up.
it, and then you have to set it up.
It's like my combination coffee grinder. As convenient as it is, it's only convenient for the first 2 cups of coffee, and then like, am I gonna clean this to make more brewed, freshly ground brewed coffee? I really need a nicer thing. Noel sharing microwave sliced lemon to clean your microwave, then use a damp warm cloth to wipe. I've heard of that. I've also heard of some people who get a damp sponge with detergent mixed in, and then you microwave that for like less than a minute. So it also does the deodorizing and stuff.
Karen shares.
Know the voltage
of appliances. Yes.
Oh my
because-
god, number one, especially when it's like gifts from family
Yeah.
from the States.
Or like, when you have those bargain sales, sometimes they sneak in appliances and stuff from other places or other regions. So you might buy something and then you get home and, oh, look at the plug. It's weird.
I mean, you get lucky a lot of time. I mean, nowadays, most devices with adapters on them, when you
Or
do,
multi-volt.
yeah, when you do look at the rating, you will see that the voltage range is probably from 100 volts to 240. So that's an auto volt
very
or a
wide
multi-volt.
range.
So that's super wide. So that works for any power level, and that's great. But you will get those specialized like 100, 110
Mhm.
voltage devices, especially if they're from the US. So those you have to be careful with. You're going to need a step-down transformer or an AVR that has a step-down transformer function. Otherwise, you are going to blow up appliances.
Oh my God, sorry. From the chat. Dapat daw yung name Polvo wrong.
Oh my God, deconstructed polvo wrong.
Okay. I love it.
And on average, the Philippines is a 220 volt country.
Mhm.
Okay, in terms of our power structure, 110 is never going to come out of any outlet.
Mm.
So
unless specifically specified, because some houses do that, but it's not a common thing you should expect.
especially in your average condo, apartment, whatnot. So assume that everything is 220, and then double check your appliances before you plug it in.
So Karen shares and accidentally plugged the 110 appliance in a place that supports 220. Yes, that's painful. I know. I remember doing that once. I think it was a game console.
We had that experience with a big
And
TV
so
in the
excited
90s.
and,
Boom.
That's life.
Awesome times.
Yeah.
And then yeah, from a power situation, I will
Power!
oh, 10 people.
Yay!
Yay!
So much energy.
Oh
Look
my
at
god,
that.
he's so loud. I forgot how loud he is.
But he's so energetic.
And you can barely see him in the video. Okay. Um from a practical power situation, I will always, if you don't own any extension cords and you start buying extension cords, I love Omni extension cords.
Define
Omni
Omni.
brand. Oh, it's a brand.
Okay.
It's the green one, Omni, where all of the plugs are universal plugs. They are designed to accept American and European, or the Singaporean plug, as
Mhm.
you call it, or even the circle hold plug. So those are super practical. Those are super practical. And then I am also like fairly cautious, especially with electronics. I like to run all electronics through an extension cord that has at least a fuse,
Mhm.
and normally those are the bigger ones, and you'll just have to see if it has
For the ones from computer.
computer stores.
Yeah.
Like, but at the very least, have that. Nicer if it's an AVR, because Philippine power is known to be quote unquote dirty,
Mhm.
which is
It
the
fluctuates a lot.
fluctuating voltage, and AVRs um, regulate that for you. But yeah, so at the very least, get those, because depending on, regardless of your appliances, then it's easy to manage. So
Mhm.
all of the extension cords in this house are Omni extension cords. I swear by them so much. I wired my office this way. Noel shares, use 3M hook instead of nailing stuff on the wall. Just make sure kaya ng weight. That is true. I love 3M power hook. Command strip hooks. Sorry, that's what it's called. They're called command strip. They are basically very strong adhesives, but you have to note that each adhesive has a weight rating, and it will tell you how heavy a load it can carry.
Mhm.
I like to get the biggest hook for pants. And then, but I still have. We've been living here for 3 years. I still haven't put the hooks up. So lazy. But things like that, and then for hanging little things like if you have frames and whatnot. But yeah, check out 3M command strips. They're great. And then you can use, sort of like electricity, you can use many of them in parallel to like increase the weight capacity, but don't do basic arithmetic in terms of three command strips can hold 3 times the weight. I don't assume that. So just be safe. I have seen command hooks carry framed cross stitch Last Supper, you know, extravaganza things. So it is possible, but
But sometimes
be
it's the
careful.
wall that's the problem.
Oh, yeah. And the especially with older units, if the paint is like several layers of paint, I have seen like the adhesive sticks, but
It tears
the
the
paint
paint off.
tears off because it wasn't done right. So just be careful. Just be careful. Okay. Mitch says there's a waterproof one you can use in the bathroom and buy it during sales, but discounted. Yeah, that helps. That super helps. Super home improvement. What else about living on your own? In general, I'll always say that it's. I guess we can take a step back to like certain skills. It would be nice to have electrical and handyman type skills, but on
Mhm.
average you won't, and that's fine. But talk to your landlord in terms of what options are available. If the
Mhm.
building has maintenance people who can help, or the local equivalent of a superintendent, so to speak, if you borrow American apartment speak, um, they should be able to help.
If there's no official one, you could always ask the front desk if you are in a condo, because most likely they know someone who knows someone who can do that for a small fee, and it's at least more reliable than asking a total stranger you haven't even checked on
That's true. That's
outside.
true. But yeah, it's gonna. But if there are essential skills, definitely one is what RJ mentioned, which is cooking, or at least figuring out how you're gonna feed yourself.
Hmm.
And then another really nice one to learn is mending clothes,
Hmm.
and not major repair. At the very least, if you can sew a stitch that comes apart, that would be awesome. I am not great at it. Toby is my number one.
I'm not great at it,
But
but
he's
I can
better.
do it.
Yeah, it's never pretty. It looks like he used staples on the back, but it works. So he's my repair man for clothes.
Um,
Um, Kenny's like installing a bidet. Whoa, that's like high level stuff. I mean, like if you good for you if you can, but for your average new person moving out, bidets are dangerous, man. Bidets are super dangerous to install on your own. And bidets have a, I mean, I will always say that bidets are essential, but have a high tendency to rip or rupture the hose and cause leaks.
Mhm.
And it's like the number one cause of condos flooding when people are away, broken bidets. So be careful. Um, because like basic accounting and personal finance, that could be nice, or at least have some sort of an understanding of where things are. Hence, my very basic is pay it forward. Pay things first in terms of your bills. Set
Mhm.
aside your non-negotiables. It might even help to have a separate savings account just to pay bills versus versus what you use for like your regular gimmick money or
Mhm.
savings money. And these days, it's super convenient to make accounts now. Like you can use one of those online banks like Gcash Savings or ING because they have better interest rates for your savings, and it makes it harder to get your money. And then keep your basic BPI whatever account for your revolving to pay bills, and just move money there from your payroll account in order to settle bills. Some people only have their payroll accounts, but I feel like these days there's no excuse not to be able to make a new account. I mean, BPI now just recently added to their app. You can now open an account from the app,
Mhm.
supposedly. Union Bank does this so much better. They've been very digital first for a long time. So either way works.
Is repurposing a necessary skill when living alone?
Repurposing as a noun. I don't necessarily think it's necessary, but it's fun. It's like you're recycling. You are making use of stuff.
It's a responsible way to live alone because you're not just throwing away everything. Like, you go your groceries and then the bags, you just throw it away. But
Yeah.
if the bags aren't stained, they're not wet, they're not sticky, then why not reuse them as trash bags? Why not reuse them to store things in a better way? So it's a smarter way to do things. But in terms of being required, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on you, I guess, and it's a save the Mother Earth
Mhm.
type situation.
Laundry. It might be good to make lists of everything you will send out to the laundry.
Oh my God, when I do laundry, I count. I don't necessarily list the specific items of clothing, but I count how many shirts,
Oh,
pants, socks,
mm-mm,
underwear, whatever that goes out to a laundry service before I bring it to them.
mhm.
And then so when it comes back, I'm checking again.
And it's not that you don't trust them. It's just that human error does happen. We have had instances in the past wherein,
We
uh,
get bonus clothes.
or like we'll get a bag would be missing and it had some bed sheets and it turns out nasama lang sa ibang pile
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
And there, at least now, there are lots of options. Before, it was just people who will do laundry for you. Now there are like public laundromats where you can just rent washing machines for usage. Very Western, very
mm,
Western. But I've always wanted to do that. I mean, I'm always a big fan of being able to use a washing machine. Um, Recently discovered not all condos let laundry machines in their units. This
yes.
is true, and not every condo has a provision for it. So
Mhm.
that was one of our criteria, that I wanted to make sure we had a washing machine, and I looked for condos
Mm-mm.
specifically that supported it. Even though in our case, it means there's a washing machine in the bathroom and the door can't close. But um, it's different for everyone. A dedicated laundry area is
Mhm.
nice, but
Especially if it
hard.
actually has a dedicated drying area, which
Yeah.
some places have in the roof deck.
I mean, yeah, there are some nice condos that have like laundry cages on the
Yeah.
roof where each unit is allocated a dedicated
Mhm.
space to hang clothes.
We even have a friend who used their laundry cage now as a garden. So
Or
they
storage.
so they now grow their greens there.
Yeah, and then if not, find nearby laundry shops. Or yes, as Jay says, it's important to also know how to hand wash. As a person who loves laundry in general, I will concede I hate hand washing only because the drying is a pain.
Mhm.
And then it never comes out as fresh as I'd like it to because I didn't have access to sunlight. So
Mm.
I was a very miserable person when I did my own laundry by hand. Ah, okay.
Be aware of all the emergency services you need within the area. To the very least, how to call fire, police if need be, or if not, security of the building.
Yeah, where the
But then,
hospital
more
is.
important, hospitals and pharmacies,
Oh yeah,
because
drugstores.
you don't want to only wonder where the closest pharmacy is when the emergency is happening.
And these are things like you should kind of resolve before you even
Mhm.
sign the contract to move in. It's like this is part of your research of the area and making sure that you have everything covered for how you're gonna live.
Mhm.
And then really beyond that, it's things like who knows where you live. Are you making sure that family knows how to get to you
Mhm.
in case something bad happens?
Emergency contact numbers.
And I mean, always imagine that if you're super sick, not like dying, but even just like super high fever, and you are in no state to get out of bed, then how will you contact people? Do they know how to get to you?
Mhm.
Can
Do
for
they
people
know
who can
where to
help,
find you?
especially if you're living super alone. I mean,
Mhm.
like as much as there are neighbors, I will not expect the average neighbor to help you.
Mhm.
So think about that and how they will be able to do that. And then think about your regular touch points with family.
Mhm.
Once, because if you are moving out for the first time, um, it's an adjustment phase for everyone.
Mhm. Maybe even consider who might have a copy of your key.
That's true. That's true. I like before, like I would have a spare key at the office
Mhm.
because there was one time I locked myself out, and then Toby was already at work. I'm like, oh crap! So I went to the office, got my
Mhm.
key, went home because it's all in the area, thankfully.
Mhm.
But still, like figure out where that extra key is gonna be.
Yeah.
Karen's like, if you live alone, take your phone with you at all times. Yes, that's true, so that you always have a way to contact.
Yeah, and it might even be something as simple as you slipped somewhere and you can't get up.
Mm-hmm.
Having the phone, you can call for help. It's crazy, but always have the phone, even if it's something as simple as picking up a delivery downstairs or buying something in the canto nearby. Always have a phone with you.
Ooh, and that reminds you of like nearby 24-hour convenience stores. I mean, it's
Mhm.
harder under like pandemic level curfews in effect in certain
Mhm.
cities, but at the very least, like you would always want, in case you need something in the middle of the night, maybe there's somewhere near and safe that you can go to get stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, because as a within the condo he's moving into has the hospital meters away. Well, that's fortunate, but could also be stressful.
Mhm.
But depending.
And
Yeah.
then depending on your sense of how ready you want to be, consider having a quick to grab emergency bag.
Toby's a big believer in the go
Um,
bag.
yeah, it can have basically a lot of the more important documents perhaps in one space or one area. So worst case scenario, you rush in, grab it, and you can go. And it has some of the pertinent stuff you might need. You,
Yeah,
you don't need to have money in envelopes.
yeah. Kenny mentions that yeah, delivery can be very expensive, and that's true. And then I used to, with the first when I first really lived on my own, I would thrive by nearby
Mhm.
ulam turo type
Yeah,
things. Yes, let's all do the 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 achuete spaghetti in the morning. And you always have that one person who only sells lugaw spaghetti and
that's it.
and pancit. Yeah,
Yeah.
then like whatever, right?
Delivery is really all about convenience.
Yes.
Because everything you can actually recreate that you can order in delivery, you will really see the huge difference. Ordering chicken from a restaurant, the whole chicken might be around 900 to 1,000. But if you go to the supermarket, a whole chicken's barely 200 pesos.
Yeah, or
So
stupid things like a cup of rice at many fast food establishments it now goes as high as like
20
20
to
pesos,
20 to 50
which is like a
pesos.
kilo of bigas.
Yes.
So
And same thing with water.
yeah,
Water, um, yeah.
find a good water delivery service option
There was that
rather
meme,
than
right?
buying like Wilkins all the time.
Bottled water Wilkins 50 pesos. 5 gallon water 50 pesos.
Yeah. And then I've always been a big believer in that and of just getting a water delivery service for clean drinking water. I would love to drink. I love to be in a country where you can drink out of the
Mhm.
tap. That's Singapore, but
There
not
was a
here.
there was a time we kinda were, but
Scary. I mean, like
yeah,
I
because I
used to.
remember in my childhood that was
We grew up
acceptable.
drinking Nawasa water, but we
Mm-mm.
also boiled it all the time. So the water's a little metallic after,
Mm.
like it
Kami,
tasted
ano eh,
caldero.
I remember we did have that it's okay to drink, but not like always drink from it. Like if you're really, really thirsty, then
Or filters were such a big thing, but then you
yes.
never maintained the filter.
Um,
All these things.
yeah, but yeah, that's why we had thermoses and all that.
And I think when you move out, like the easiest is always to get one of those water containers that has the built-in valve, and just remember that in the beginning you will have to pay for the container plus the cost of the water, and then later
Mm.
on you're just paying for the cost to refill,
Mhm.
but you don't actually own the container, which
Mhm.
is weird. Like it's this virtual economy of the containers. And some water delivery services get very prissy and saying they only want to use their container, and it forces you to buy another one if you switch providers. We're going through this soon because our existing provider has machine issues and
Yeah.
they'll be out of service for a while, and so I'm going to have to find another service, and I'm stressing out. We've already asked the building, and they were like, this might work, but they're not sure. Not reassuring. Okay.
So
Karen did buy a nice water filter setup. That's nice. Or like those Brita pitchers. There's those pitchers that have a built-in filter. Then you just fill it, and then you leave it overnight.
yeah, what I've seen now being sold are those you basically have the container, the 5 gallon of water. You take out the top, but then you put this system because it now acts as a pump.
Oh,
So you don't need, as long as you have a supply of water, you don't need a full dispenser. You can just have this pump system.
oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
It's interesting, and I haven't really considered if it's something to get for long term solutions. But I think they're selling it as an option for like outings and for parties.
Mm.
What else?
We're always like double checking the comments on both screens.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. There was something in my head earlier, but I think I lost it.
Yeah. Entertainment. Internet these days is like a super requirement. Whether you're going to rely on a souped up mobile data plan or you will get yourself a non-fixed broadband internet solution, or you're lucky to be able to get something like DSL or fiber, it's a serious investment, guys. And gone are the days where you need to always think about getting cable TV. It's so weird, but you can get away with not getting cable
because
TV.
internet already provides.
The internet is your cable. So we cut the cord many years ago. We haven't had cable in so long.
We haven't used TV
As TV.
watch TV shows in so long. Right?
Yeah, the flip side is that we have to be very diligent about getting our own news because we don't have ready access to the news. Which means checking different news sites, and yes, subscribing to newspapers on Twitter, these things. What other tips do we have for people living alone? We covered like food, location, safety, finances to some degree. Cleaning up after yourself. Please, 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 please get into the habit of cleaning up after yourself and figuring out how to keep your unit tidy. It's very tempting, especially in the beginning, if you're very tired of dealing with your parents getting mad at you all the time, that I'll just live the way I want. It's okay because my place is just a place to sleep, and as long as I can find my stuff, I'm okay. But no, if we are talking about adulting after all, learn to clean up your place.
Learn to keep food outside of the bedroom.
Yes. Or at least off your bed if you don't really have that much space.
Because in as much as you might say, I'll clean up anyway, the crumbs still fall.
Yeah, and then that encourages pests, and then it's a never-ending war with fighting against roaches and the like. As much as even if you are clean, especially in places like condos and apartments,
because they'll live in your neighbors and they'll sneak into your house to eat.
The problem of one unit is the problem of all, they say.
Yes.
So consider that carefully. Plus, in the random times you may have a guest, even if it's a little space, you don't want your apartment to unknowingly smell like you. I mean, I have visited friends that their places have a distinct aroma, and you don't notice it because you smell it every day. And that's the nature of scent. Like if you're not careful, you may not realize your place smells. So
air out places.
Change your sheets regularly.
Have time to keep the windows open and the sun to come in.
Oh, the whole open window thing is amazing. I mean, like we used to have like potential mold and mildew problems in cabinets,
Hmm.
and then because it turned out was that room didn't get enough air circulation because we kept closing the windows because there was construction next door and
Yeah.
we were worried about asthma triggering debris.
Mhm.
But without that breeze blowing through the room,
The
then it
mold
encouraged
thrive.
mold and the stuff. So a good breeze is very important. So air out your houses. um, distinct aroma. No, it's true. It's true. I'm sorry, and
Mhm.
I'm very big on scents. I'm the kind of person who will buy different scent stuff for bathrooms and the
Mm.
like.
For those who might not realize it, that goes even double. So if you smoke in your place,
Oh, it super
it
sticks.
doesn't matter what you're smoking. It part of it does stick.
Yeah, I mean, like most condos now require you to smoke outside or to have there's a designated smoking area.
Mhm.
Although I feel like smoking areas kind of went out the window because of the pandemic, so it's tricky.
But whether it's smoking, vaping, or whatever, that does still linger to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
People talking about pest control and like Noel's notes that the bygone chalk helps. Toby swears by the chalk.
mhm.
There was a time that the underside of this table had like a chalk border so that if roaches were climbing up the central pillar,
They could not.
they would hit the chalk. The chalk's pretty cool. I also believe in roach traps. Not
Mhm.
that you will ever see a roach trapped inside, but when they're active, the overall level of roaches are lower.
Mhm.
And then when it's time to replace, there's more. So it feels like the classic joke about the elephant repellent. Like, hey guys, I have elephant repellent. How do you know it works?
Do you see an elephant?
No elephants. But the roach traps kind of work in that
Mhm.
way, but they're a little pricey.
And then, no matter how much you try to make the house clean, for some reason there will be those tiny flies. We think they live in the pipes,
Yes, the fruit flies, the
and
whatever bathroom flies.
and they just come out when they want to, and they'll attack wherever you have your garbage and refuses, no matter how close or how often you replace it. In our case, we've started using flypaper for those instances when, because there are instances we don't see any pests. But
Yeah.
then we leave the flypaper out, and after a week, oh, they caught all these little things.
Yeah, especially if you have and I always say you have a dedicated wet garbage for
Mhm.
like organic waste. So when you're doing food prep, chicken bones, whatever,
Mhm.
the stuff you don't eat when you're cooking, that all goes into a bag. That is more likely to generate
Mhm.
fruit flies and the like. If you can throw that bag away daily, please do so.
Mhm.
Super, please do so. Yes. Because like Venus flytraps. I don't.
I was tempted to own one, but I heard they actually smell
Not really. I don't know.
because that's how they attract.
But it could make sense. There would have to be some way to pull them closer.
Yeah.
Um.
And I'd probably be tempted to look inside and touch it.
Yeah. But on the whole, it's just. I mean, there's like a gazillion things you're gonna have to think about when you're living on your own, and there's a lot of things you take for granted in terms of, especially if you're living with family and how a household is
Mhm.
run, from who refills the ice trays, who cleans the toilet, who brings out the garbage.
Mhm.
When you live on your own, it's a mindset change that you have to think about this for yourselves.
Because no one else will take care of it.
Yeah, and then even if you're sharing a space with people, even if they're just housemates, roommates, boarders, whatever, there should be some discussion on division of labor,
Mhm.
and at the very least, keep your own space clean.
Mhm.
Noel and Karen are not talking about zappers. So Noel's
Yes.
like the electric LED mosquito insect zapper thing is really good.
Very
Toby
good.
swears by this too. We have one that sits in the dark in the bedroom sometimes.
Because there are those surprisingly horrific moments of you're having a nice quiet night, and then you look up and oh my god, there's all these small flies, because it's those flies that come out when rain's about to happen,
yeah,
and there's no way to stop them other than living in a house that's covered in
and what's
chicken
this?
wire.
Yeah,
Ah, no,
chicken,
not
the
chicken
mosquito
wire.
net
Yeah,
type things.
So
The screens.
so you will still need some way to get rid of them, and I don't think you'll want to keep spraying around while people are in the.
Karen chimes in with the electric tennis racket. I swear by the electric tennis racket.
Mhm.
I have ridiculously hunted flies in the house, um, and I'm pretty good at it.
I catch them with my bare hand.
Toby, yes, or with a towel. But I use the racket, and I like the backhand. I backhand mosquitoes, but for flies, it's a forehand. I don't know why.
And me, I kung fu.
Or fly
Because
paper.
it has worked.
And
I've had those instances. Rocky, dead fly, and I go wash my hands.
yeah, so I mean, living on your own is very exciting. But yeah, I mean, I think the whole thing about like adulting as a term,
Mhm.
it's really thinking about living on your own and caring for all these needs and figuring out what works best for you
Mhm.
as you live independently. Because I mean, it's one thing to set up your space and then start to feel comfortable, and then you're gonna think about the little improvements you can
Mhm.
do, like, ooh, I could use a shelf or a plant or whatever, and you will realize that home improvement is a trap. It never ends.
Mhm.
There is always something to do, and that's not entirely a bad thing as long as you stay in your budget and don't starve yourself just to get more plants.
And please, even if you live alone, use serving utensils. Don't use the same knife to smear things onto things and then use it on your mouth.
Don't park a food bowl in your bedroom.
Don't
That every time you're hungry, you go to the kitchen and you put whatever food you prepare, and it's the same bowl.
don't drink from the containers.
Uh,
Please pour them out.
from a health perspective, it's because these things will spoil faster this way if
Mhm.
your saliva contaminates and stuff, and
Mhm.
just don't.
But part of adulting, I don't think you will ever find someone to live with who will see that and go, "Ah, that's fine." Not gonna happen.
Noel says never leave unwashed dishes. Yes, when you leave dishes overnight, you're inviting pests.
And if, let's say, because there's no choice, you really have to. Let's say emergency, you have to run off, or you're too drunk and
Soak
you
it.
can't. Then at least soak it. Just,
Don't wash stuff when you're drunk.
yeah, because you'll end up having a knife stuck on your hand.
Blood all over the unit and a frozen orange in hand. Very strange.
Yeah, that
Very
was me.
strange. Yeah, I think that's about it. We're coming up to 10. I think that's a good run through of tips and tricks for living on your own. I hope that helped everybody. But if you have further stuff to throw in, let us know. So
But that's all the time we have. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
feel free, if you have questions or suggestions, feel free to fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. This was suggested by Kenny. So thanks, Kenny. Good luck in your upcoming living alone situation.
We will wait for the video where you tour us around.
Because that's the best we can say now, right? Before it would be like, we will wait to be invited over.
Housewarming.
No, and now it's like, we wait for you to go live on Facebook.
And we
like,
will
show
be
your
blunt
unit.
and say, even if you invite us to a housewarming, we will not go yet. Not while the pandemic is ongoing.
Yeah. Our house is plenty warm, thanks. Okay, and then you can follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
As always, feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and share with everyone. What are your tips when you first started living on your own? What are the things that you wish you had known about?
Where do you now keep your porn, since you don't have to hide it?
Is it on display in the middle of the living room because you're a baller like that? All right. And then, of course, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Have a good evening, everyone. Good luck. There is still a Monday tomorrow. And it's a 3-day week. Ah!